This is CGTN, China Global Television Network.
Indonesia's volcano-triggered tsunami claims at least 222 lives. People of the DRC gather in prayer amid political tensions in the country. Ethiopian government issues warning to the Oromo Liberation Front. Welcome to Africa Live on CGTN. As always, great to have you with us. I'm Richard Nta. Let's take a look at other top stories making headlines. French President Emmanuel Macron visits troops in Chad. And the United States government shutdown expected to last longer than expected. We start off in Indonesia, where at least 222 people have died following a tsunami. The tsunami hit the coastline of Java and Sumatra Islands. A combination of underwater landslides triggered by a volcanic eruption are thought to be the cause of the tsunami. An estimated 843 people have been injured and 28 are still unaccounted for. Rescue workers are having a hard time reaching affected areas due to debris blocking the roads. The death toll is expected to rise as rescue efforts continue. A suicide double car bombing in Somalia's capital Mogadishu has claimed the lives of about 13 people and wounded at least 17 others. The first explosion happened at a checkpoint outside the country's national theater, while the second blast came minutes later at a nearby crossroad. The jihadist group Al-Shabaab has since claimed responsibility for the attack. CGTN's Abdulaziz Billo with more details.
The first blast targeted this security checkpoint near the National Theatre, followed by a second explosion not far from here. Militant group Al-Shabaab has since claimed responsibility, saying it targeted security personnel and senior government officials. Saturday's attack ended weeks of calm in a city often a target for the Al-Qaeda-affiliated group. The deputy mayor of Mogadishu survived the attacks but lost his security detail in the first blast. The explosion killed 7 of his bodyguards as well as his personal driver. A prominent TV personality, also known as Awil Dair Salat, was killed in the blast. The journalist was killed alongside 3 other television crew members while on their way to work. The blast targeted a heavily fortified zone of the city that's not accessible to public transport vehicles. Only government officials, security personnel and civil servants have access to that area of the city, raising serious security concerns as to how the militant group were able to reach that area. Intelligence forces have since arrested 2 individuals, including the mastermind of the attack and the driver of the second vehicle that detonated. City hospitals are coping with a high number of cases. Prime Minister Hassan Ali Khaire toured several hospitals in the capital, vowing to boost the government's fight against the militant group.
We call on the Somali public not to lose hope. Things will improve soon. We will overcome the militant threat with your support.
Last month, Al-Shabaab killed more than 50 people in a deadly attack on a popular hotel in downtown Mogadishu. The attacks included 3 car bombs and suicide bombers. Meanwhile, the group has lost hundreds of militants in recent airstrikes carried out by the US Army. The US Africa Command AFRICOM says it has degraded the group's attacking capability by neutralizing its fighters stationed in areas outside Mogadishu. But despite recent losses, Saturday's attacks is yet but a reminder of the security challenges facing Somalia and the need to change the security approach in securing the city from deadly militant attacks. Abdulaziz Billo, CGTN, Mogadishu, Somalia.
Hundreds of Congolese Catholics attended Mass in the Democratic Republic of Congo to pray for their country ahead of the polls on December the 30th. The Catholic Church is very influential in the DRC, with more than 30 million faithful scattered across the country. Some of the worshipers expressed their disappointment about the postponement of the vote. CGTN's Chris Ochemringa has more.
Catholic faithful listened to the sermon at the Church of Our Lady of Fatima in Kinshasa on a day they should have been out voting for their next president. The polls were postponed to the 30th of December because of the Electoral Commission's delay in replacing voting materials that were burnt in a fire last week. The service has brought Congolese from all walks of life. The priest urged the congregation to remain peaceful.
The Christmas message is about peace. It's connected to the forthcoming election, which is very important for our country.
Important indeed, especially for some of the worshippers here who were eagerly waiting to vote on the 23rd of December.
Today we were supposed to go and vote, but we've come to church because the government decided to postpone the elections. We have accepted to wait until next Sunday to cast our votes.
I think the reason for postponing the elections wasn't very convincing. We're not happy about it, but we'll wait until the 30th. We only hope there'll be no other postponement.
More than 40 million Congolese will cast their ballots next Sunday to choose a leader who will replace President Joseph Kabila. The Catholic Church has played an instrumental role in promoting democracy in the DRC. In 2016, it brokered a peace deal between the government and the opposition that calmed tensions after President Kabila remained in power after the expiry of his term. There are fears that the outcome of the elections may spark violence. The international community has called on the Congolese government to ensure that it organizes credible elections to avoid sliding the country back into conflict. For many of the worshippers here, it's only God who will determine the destiny of their vast country. Chris Ochamringa, CGTN, Kinshasa, Democratic Republic of Congo.
The Ethiopian government is pushing back against the armed faction of the Oromo Liberation Front. The move is part of efforts to ensure security in the country. CGTN's Jerome Chala has more.
Unconfirmed reports suggest the Ethiopian army has been engaged in repeated fighting against the armed Oromo Liberation Front combatants. The reports also said the army has succeeded in killing and capturing the front's force who were not willing to surrender their arms when asked. Now, the OLF does not accept this. In fact, its leader, Daud Ibsa, told media that the Ethiopian government has breached their historic peace agreement, which allowed OLF to return to peaceful political engagements in the country. Daud also said him and fellow OLF leaders were not allowed to visit their armies, which are at the moment undertaking training in government military academies to ultimately integrate with the nation's forces. In response, Ethiopian government officials said the allegations are all baseless. In fact, they said the government will no longer tolerate the hostile acts of the Oromo Liberation Front. The officials further said only peacefully working political parties will be supported. The rest, including OLF, will be militarily dealt with until they cease to pose danger on citizens. As the brawl and the word exchange between the government and OLF heating up, many wonder when Ethiopia can achieve full security, especially in its peripheries. The OLF was a long-time Ethiopian opposition party which has returned from Eritrea with its army immediately after Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed called for peace and unity. CGTN, Addis Ababa, Ethiopia.
An Egyptian court has acquitted 43 NGO employees who were accused of illegally receiving foreign funding. The controversial case followed the 2011 uprising. The organizations were accused of using these funds to disrupt public order and threaten Egypt's national security. Here is Adel El Marouki with more.
After 7 years of continuous investigations and court hearings that involved 43 employees and 5 international non-governmental organizations, an Egyptian court has found that all defendants were innocent. They have been accused of acquiring millions of US dollars in illegal funding for operating unlicensed NGOs. All defendants have been acquitted, even those at large.
The court followed the rule of equal stances of the defendants. Those present were found innocent, therefore those in absentia were acquitted as well. The case truly avoided any tangible documents. It lacked any substantial evidence. That was clear before all the courts in the past year. When they say they were unlicensed, we proved that they applied for registration. Because politics got involved, I think that has stretched the process.
The case has soured relations between Egypt, the United States, Germany and other European countries whose organizations and citizens have been involved in the case. Cairo has then launched a crackdown over NGOs' operation, banning foreign funding almost entirely, which has led to the shutting down of almost all rights and civil services organizations.
This case has affected the presence of international organizations in Egypt. Their presence is crucial to reflect stability and security in the country. They have induced the economy with millions of dollars and employed many Egyptians. After this case was filed, most organizations have shut down.
The court's acquittal has been applauded by international rights organizations. The verdict is expected to re-encourage foreign NGOs to operate in Egypt. The case, however, has not been entirely closed yet. The recent verdict only concerns foreign NGOs. There is another case with similar accusations filed against dozens of Egyptian NGOs. But defense lawyers think that this case may too witness a similar happy ending. Adel Mahroui, CGTN, Cairo.
To Morocco, where vigils were held in Saturday evening in the capital of Rabat to mark the deaths of 2 women from Norway and Denmark who were killed in the Atlas Mountains earlier this week. They denounced the killings of the 2 Scandinavian tourists and expressed solidarity with their families. 4 suspects aged between 25 and 33 years from areas near Marrakesh have been arrested in relation to the killings.
Participants from different political parties and civil society organizations laid flowers and lit candles in front of the Norwegian embassy and later the Danish embassy.
As lawyers and as a society, we do not accept that such a vicious crime that has nothing to do with humanity took place in our country. As lawyers, we strongly condemn this cowardly, inhumane act that has nothing to do with our character and tolerant Islamic values.
We came here to take part as students, Moroccans and Muslims. We are here to express our rejection of terrorism, and we consider this crime as a double crime against the homeland and against humanity. We as Muslims, we reject this crime. Islam is a religion of peace and has nothing to do with terrorism.
24-year-old Louisa Jesperson from Denmark and 28-year-old Maren Newland from Norway were found dead on Monday with cuts on their necks near a village on the way to Toubkal, North Africa's highest peak and a popular hiking destination.
This crime is alien to Moroccans. Morocco is a land of peace and tolerance. This is strange to us and has shocked all of us. Everywhere in Morocco, people are speaking about this incident. We express our apologies to the Danish and Norwegian people, and the best thing we can do is to come here and express our solidarity and support for them.
4 suspects pledged allegiance to ISIL and its leader have been arrested in connection with their deaths. 9 other individuals were arrested by the Central Bureau of Judicial Investigations on Friday in various Moroccan cities over suspected connections to their killings. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
All right, you're watching Africa Live on CGTN. We've got lots more news coming your way, including Sudan protests against high cost of living continue. And we take a look at how Egypt's tourism sector benefits from the holiday season.
How will your world change today? What happens here? What happens there? Or what you make happen for yourself? If it matters to you, it matters to us too. Your stories are the stories that need to be told. Africa Live. Find your voice.
Welcome back. Opposition parties in Sudan say protests in the country have claimed at least 22 lives. Scores more were injured following demonstrations over worsening economic conditions in the country. Thousands of demonstrators have taken to the streets for a fourth day in a row, destroying government property. Earlier, the Sudanese government said it would not tolerate any acts of sabotage or violations of the law during popular protests against economy woes. The holiday season is a boost to many countries' tourism industry. Yasser Hakim looks at how Egypt's tourism sector is bracing for the upcoming festivities and its performance in 2019. Tourism is considered to be one of the major sources of hard currency for the North African country. Let's take a look.
Egyptian hotels and resorts are looking forward for the festive season. The sunny, warm weather in the Red Sea cities of Sharm el-Sheikh and Hurghada make it an attractive destination during the Christmas and New Year.
The season looks very promising. The hotels and resorts are fully booked. It's near impossible to find a room even for us Egyptians to enjoy the holiday. The improvements in the security and the successful crackdown on terrorism has helped bring back tourists from the US, Japan, Spain, Germany and the UK in big numbers.
The first 3 quarters of 2018 have recorded a 55% increase against the same period in 2017. However, the 8 million who visited the country are still much lower than the 15 million the new Minister of Tourism is targeting.
Rania Al-Mashad has been very active. She constructed the whole ministry to be more effective, hired qualified personnel and set up a comprehensive marketing and sales plan to attract more visitors in the short and medium term.
The all-important charter flights from Russia have not resumed yet since the 2015 passenger plane crash in Sharm el-Sheikh, depriving Egypt from over 2 million Russian visitors a year. But Chinese tourism has been steadily increasing to reach 500,000 in 2018, up from about 300,000 the year before.
Egypt is a beautiful country with a great civilization like China, so I had to come see it myself.
In 2019, the government plans to inaugurate the new Grand Museum, one of the largest in the world, as well as refurbishing the pyramids area. Unlike the previous 5 years, 2018 has been a good year for tourism in Egypt, and analysts expect that 2019 would be even better. Yes, Haki for CGTN, Cairo.
South African jazz artist Musa Manzini has played his music all over the world. But one performance stands out. He strummed his guitar while surgeons operated on his brain. A video of the multi-instrumentalist taken during the 6-hour surgery for a brain tumor shows him lying on his back in the operating theater, surrounded by scrubbed-up medical staff plucking the strings of his guitar. This allowed doctors to observe which areas of the brain the jazz artist uses to play music. The procedure enabled doctors to preserve those areas and restore some movement to his fingers, which were affected by the tumor. Doctors opted to keep Manzini awake in order to assess which areas of his brain were functioning as the surgery went on, thus reducing the risk of neurological damage. Manzini says he intends to take to the stage again once he's fully recovered. And French President Emmanuel Macron began a 2-day visit to Chad on Saturday. During this inaugural visit, he met first with Chadian President Idriss Déby before visiting French soldiers deployed with Operation Barkhane and inspecting a ceremonial military guard. The French president also attended a meeting with military chief of staff and French Armed Forces minister. According to the Elysee Palace, Macron will use this visit to the North Central African country to encourage the troops to reaffirm his commitment to counter terror efforts in the region.
Diplomatic trips by presidents are often limited to high-level interactions. However, French President Emmanuel Macron, on his first trip to Chad, made a unique statement to emphasize the value of the 4,000 men in Barkhane supporting security in the 5 countries of the banned Sahel-Saharan Africa through a shared pre-Christmas meal.
Everything was done at the Elysee. Everything is homemade. Everything was done at the Elysee. The cakes, macaroons, chocolate cakes were made at the Elysee. How many macaroons have been made? 3,200. 3,200 macaroons and 100 cakes.
On this base of Kosei, the head chef of the Elysee, Guillaume Gomez, removes out of his pocket revolver a laser thermometer. Attending to the foie gras Christmas intended for the 1,000 soldiers of the Bakane force in Jamena, who woke up on Saturday with Emmanuel Macron at the base.
The president has not given any special instructions. He only expressed the wish that I come with the teams that can make a nice Christmas meal for the troops, so that's enough for me. I do not need more instructions.
The menu is strictly the same as last year in the base of Niamey, but the guests are twice as many. Each soldier will also receive a box of chocolates offered this time by the Elysee. This special dinner is also for Mr. Macron to take stock of the operation in Bakane, which since 2014 has been fighting the jihadists in the Sahel. Beryl Oro, CGTN.
All right, time for a short break. We will be right back with your sport news. Let's take a peek at the headlines.